Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar on converting data to dollars for Drystock farmers. I'm joined here, so my name's Glenn Chesterman and I'm joined here by Tim Orlando Reap. So Tim's our Upper North Island business manager. Just before we get stuck into the session, just a little bit of etiquette. So if you have any questions, feel free to chuck them down in that chat box as we go along. This session will be pretty high paced. We'll be just flying over the topics. So if you want to slow us down and just remark on one or two things, just shout out and we'll be able to do that for you. But yeah, like always, if there's any questions following this session, please feel free to reach out and we'll be able to answer them. Cool. So who are we? So yeah, my name's Glenn Chesterman. Tim's playing with his lights there. Did your power go out, Tim? Nah, he's all right.
Power's back on.
Oh, that's the one. So I'm an account manager at FarmIQ. I've been looking after North Island for the last wee while, so you might have had a chat to me before, maybe. I'm a graduate from Lincoln University, so I did a Bachelor of Ag there and a certified trainer, so just recently picked up that qualification. I have shepherding experience in New Zealand, Australia and Europe, so pretty good kind of practical farm knowledge. And then I'm also sixth generation on a sheep and beef family farm in Hawke's Bay, so that's Konu Polled Hereford. So they actually use FarmIQ extensively, and I will be using them a bit today when we're going over the functionality. And then my mobile number's down the bottom there, so if you need to get in touch. So I'll let Tim introduce himself quickly.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Tim. I'm the Upper North Island business manager, so I look after everywhere from Taupo right up to the top, up to Cape Reinga. Look, I've been involved with farming pretty much my whole life. Bachelor of Business Studies at Massey, not Lincoln. But I was in product development there. And I've been managing farms in New Zealand, especially around the northwest Waikato area. And then I've spent a bit of time overseas doing tractor harvesting and a bit of shearing. And my speciality is finishing beef. And we've got a couple of blocks we run, so the home block plus the lease block. And again, I use FarmIQ quite extensively for my operation here. And that's why I jumped on board with FarmIQ at the beginning of the year, because I could see a great opportunity there for farmers to be able to capture some of that data and make some real key decisions. So that's me.
Cool. And as we go, we'll be kind of the focus of this is really point out the key cornerstones of FarmIQ where we see our dry stock farmers getting value. So we'll be going over those main areas, and I'll just summarize them now quickly. So what will we be covering? So first off, I'll give you a quick overview of FarmIQ. Hopefully most of you would have seen it before or have had a play around at one point, but I'll do a quick 5 minutes just to get everyone up to the same speed. Then Tim will be jumping in and he'll take us through taking advantage of value-added schemes through basic recording. So obviously FarmIQ has been set up to, Silverfern Farms were one of the first people to set up FarmIQ. So it was set up with this in mind. So getting those records in place and all together, so when it comes to meeting those audits, you can tick them off real quick. The next point is keeping an accurate stock rec while automating transactions with Nate. And I think this is one of the key cornerstones of FarmIQ. If you know how many animals you have on farm any day of the year, it's pretty paramount when it comes to planning. And then automating those transactions with Nate just takes any effort out down the line as well. And then Tim will jump back in again and we'll do a quick session on understanding animal performance and how it can improve profitability. So this is taking that data that you record every day and starting to pull some reports from it. And then you can start to see trends of what you're doing right and wrong. and so, yeah, make informed decisions which will impact your bottom line. And then we'll go over a little bit of nutrient and grazing reporting equals informed decisions. So this is when you get into those heat maps in FarmIQ, and often this is the data you're not thinking about day to day. You just end up recording, and over a couple of years, you can pull some bloody cool stuff out of it. So looking at these reports, you can be like, oh, right, this is working, this isn't, maybe I should try this. So cool. Any questions there, or any key bits anyone wants to go over? Feel free to chuck them in the chat. Sweet.
Cool. Nothing there so far, Glenn?
Nah. Sweet. Oh, I'll jump in. So hopefully you can all see my screen there. So obviously FarmIQ is based off a map. So the core of the system is built around your farm map. And when you sign up or at FarmIQ, well, there's a couple of ways we can help get this in for you. So when you do any recording or anything, you can just easily do this against the map. So by clicking on a couple of paddocks, you can bring up the options there. And this is the same with the mobs. So these little dots all over the farm here are the different mobs spread across the property. So this is our home block up at Koanui. And so it's our mixed stage ewes here, and then we can also do some actions against them. You also have different layers which you can put on, and currently we're showing paddock details, which includes our crops. So this kind of pinky orangey shaded paddock is our kale crop, and over to the right here, I think it's an Italian ryegrass. So setting this up, the map provides a real good visual cornerstone for your day-to-day planning. You can set it up with any layers that you want. So there's forestry here, there's a little bit sliver there, features, none on this block, and then also hazards. So you can see here there's been a lot of work done on those hazards in FarmIQ. It can get as busy or as quiet as you want. And then you can also do labels here as well. So we can see we turn on paddock names and total area. Cool. So how the rest of the system is laid out. Kind of up in our top left here, we kind of refer to these as our inputs. So any data that you want to put into the system, generally it'll be in this top left-hand corner. So you got your stock tab. It's got all the actions you can record against stock here. Land, a few more fun little features. People, health and safety, and office. So office is like your admin area, and then you also got your product inventory, which is a key one. Cool. And then up in the top right hand corner is what we call our outputs. So any of the data you record on the left will feed through to the right. You can also, so if I click on Koanui here, this can take us to an organization level. So if you have multiple properties, you can also run them in FarmIQ. And from the organization level, that's where you can do combined reporting across all the farms if you're running multiple properties. So we got a dashboard here up in the top. I'll just run this quickly. So this just shows any key data. So you can set up these widgets how you want and what you want them to show. So these are some sheep and cattle sales. And then we got a file library report center, which we'll be diving into extensively. And then one of the main ones is also the diary. So any events you record in FarmIQ will be taken through into the diary. So when you get set up, you'll give your staff access. So they will be able to contribute to the data which is going to the system. This can either be for our web application or our mobile app as well. But if we click on one of the events here, so like health treatments, we can see the details there of what's going on, and then also who it has been recorded by. So the diary is kind of the source of all truth of what's been going on in farms. So all your info will be coming through to there. So hopefully that helps for a quick overview of the system. It was very fast, but there is a lot more to it. You also got your tools and calculators as well. But yeah, that's kind of the bones of what FarmIQ is. So I'll just pass over to Tim now, and he'll take us through some more stuff.
Thanks, Glenn. So yeah, Glenn's given a basic overview of what FarmIQ does. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to delve into that a little bit and show a little bit of data going in, and we'll show you some of the powerful reports that can come out. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually use animal health as one of those sort of examples. So sort of looking at a more holistic approach, back to the data versus dollars. If we're able to tell the story about what we're producing, and that's the food and the fiber, but we're actually trying to attach the fact to the produce that we're producing. So by being able to do that, we're able to tell the story of how this produce has been created, for lack of a better word, and we're able to take the data along there with us. And by being able to do that successfully, we can ask for a premium for our product. So a great example of that is the Atkins Ranch, which is based in San Francisco. And they source a lot of their lamb from New Zealand, especially around the sort of east coast of the North Island. And at the end of the season, by going through the process of what Atkins Ranch needs to tell the story, they're able to offer a $12 a head rebate at the end of the season, which is massive. If you think about the financial incentive to make sure that story is being told properly. And to be honest, it's not hard, and that's where something like FarmIQ comes along and does that job for you. So the idea is to be proactive, record as you go, and then you don't have to deal with those horrible sort of thoughts at the end of the month or every 6 months when the auditor's turning up. He can actually turn up, or she, or they can actually be given access offside, so they can spend a lot of time collecting their data from the data you've already put into FarmIQ. And then when they come to the kitchen table, they might only need half an hour of your time, instead of spending the whole day going through information and trying to work out what you did 5.5 months ago. So I'm just going to share my screen, and I'll show you quickly what we do as far as the health treatments are concerned, and it's pretty straightforward. And we're just going to use another demo farm here. But what we do is again, we have a lot of the input on the left-hand side here. So this is also applicable through the mobile app. And this is the report stuff coming out here. So if we're putting something in, we just go through health and feeding, and we go through the health treatments. And so all we do is we just go through a basic template, really, and just populate the information. And we can put in as much or as little as we want, as long as it's got the stars next to it have been populated. And then we just go through the treatments applicator and just go through. You can utilize your batch number that you've already put in there, and I'll talk about product inventory in a little bit. And you can put in costs too. Now, you don't have to put on all this, but if it has a little red star next to it, yes, you do have to put it in. You can add photos or any other notes to that and then save it, and it's done. Nice and easy.
So one thing to note with these forms is they're pretty consistent all throughout the system. So when you know how to record an health treatment, you know how to record a fertilizer treatment. It's all pretty much the same.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, so they have tried to standardise it as much as possible, and we'll talk about that with the FAP and the FEP in a little bit, and try and make it as easy as possible. But let's just have a look at the report and see where that data's gone. So if I'd recorded that data I put in before, it would show up on a health treatments report. So we've got 46-ish reports that you can pull out of this, all from varying levels of what you want out of it, from a nutrient analysis to a health treatment report. So for this one, I'm just going to use this as an example, and we can see exactly what sort of health treatments we've done from the beginning of, where do we go to, the 5th of April here. So we can actually change that right up to the beginning of the year. Or if we only want to look at it from a month, we can. So we just play around with this. But we're just going to use it as its default at the moment. And we can see what we've done with the cattle here. And we can also see what we've done with the sheep. So what we can do here is actually drill down a bit more. We've got some mixed age twins. We can actually see that given them a combination of Ultravac and Sidecting Alley for the twins, and then we can see here for the singles, we've just given them the UGuard plane. So we can actually track what we've done as well, and that's quite interesting to see what our mortality rate might be from scanning to weaning, to docking to weaning. So that sort of information is really cool, and again, really easy to put in, only 30 seconds after you finish doing it, and then it's there for good to be pulled out as you need. I'll just quickly go through the FAP because the Farm Assurance Program, because it is really straightforward, and to start this off, it doesn't take much, and a lot of the questions can actually be answered from what's in your grey matter. So the biggest problem farmers have at the moment is being able to get all the thoughts and the information in their head onto paper, because that's what compliance is going to require. So for something like the Farm Assurance Plan here, it's been set out to be really easy. All you have to do is start it, and you just work your way along, and all these questions should be easily answered. If you don't know the answer, it won't take too much to go and have a little bit of a think. But the beauty of this is you don't have to do it all at the same time. We could actually leave this as this and go straight to waste, and we can fill in what we need to do in the waste department, because we might know exactly what's happening in that area, but we might not quite know what's happening with our general or our storage yet. So we can start building the bones of a farm assurance plan. And it's really easy to get the most out of it. Just go to the summary at the end. We want to export it out, and voila, we've suddenly got a farm assurance program. So when you're going to your supplier and you want to get a farm assurance plan going, if you provide them second or third party access into FarmIQ, they can actually see that without coming and bugging you for all that information, because you've already put it in there. And when auditors come around, they're usually dealing with the lower 25 percentile, and that's the people who give them the headaches. If you can front foot these sort of situations, then you go disappear under the radar, because you're being seen as being compliant, and you're able to tap into that premium price as well with some of these processes, which has only become bigger as we go forward. So auditing is just verifying the fact that you're trying to export with your food and your fibre. We should really change the word auditing to make it more of an opportunity, because that's where the opportunity is going forward. Farm Environment Plan, I'll quickly show you that. I mean, we have done that quite a bit in other webinars, but just to show you the similarities between the Environment Plan and the Farm Assurance Program. Again, 7 steps along the top, and we can plug in what we need. And the great thing about this is we can tie it into our map features, so we can draw up plans of what we plan to do next year or the year after, riparian planting, poplar planting, whatever. So if the council does want to have a look, again, we can give them third-party access. They can jump in there and play to their heart's delight. You can restrict to how much they can see. But then at the end of the day, they're not going to be coming around and taking up hours and days of your time asking for information, because you've actually loaded it all there already and preempted what they want by the template we have. Just quickly, product inventory. I did mention it before. This is a great little way of tying into that audit or opportunity, shall I call it, of suppliers or producers, processors wanting to see what we're doing on farm. So by loading our drench and our chemical into our inventory reconciliation, when we actually do our animal treatment, and say we do 300 lambs and they're a mil of vaccine each, it'll take off that 300 mil off our inventory. So we've actually got a real-time level of what we have on hand. That'll be the same with your glyphosate, your chemicals, and you can do it with your seed, fertilizer, and supplementary feed, which is another really big topic which we won't cover tonight. But you can actually utilize that for your decision making and forward planning. That's it for me. Glenn's going to go the next lot with Nate and stock reconciliation. Thanks, Glenn.
Cool. I'll crack into that one. Just share the screen. So, yeah, remember to chat those questions for if you have anything you want us to cover. But yeah, I have to say, keeping stock rec and everything probably is the most exciting thing to most people. But it's KA, and if you know what you got on farm, yeah, well, it helps every decision at the end of the day. And I know with the home farm, we have struggled in the past keeping an accurate stock rec. And that's just trying to get everyone to keep those numbers going in and then keep in one central database. So FarmIQ has allowed us to greatly improve that. And that predominantly that's been through giving our staff access, and they've been able to help chip in to keep our defs and purchases and all that up to date. So I'll go quickly. So first off, I'll explain the stock list. So the stock list and stock rec are two different things. So the stock list in FarmIQ is based off mobs, and this is what I like to call our management groups. So you set up your stock list, how you run your stock on your farm. So we can see here we got like 2018 bulls, and then they go down. So we can change it to just cattle and just sheep. Cool. So if we just go cattle, and we click on 2018 bulls, we can see under here, this is the stock class. That might not be the best one, but we'll go on 2020. So these are R1s. So the stock class, this is what feeds into our stock rec. So our stock rec's like a hard kind of formatted number of what animals you have on farm and what stock class they are, which is important for your end of year reports. And then so in the stock list, we run this as our day-to-day management. So we'll be pulling the 2020 bulls, we'll be moving them around the farm into different paddocks. And then we'll also be pulling from the 2020 bulls when we record health treatments. So over here on the right-hand side, in our enterprise, our top pack, we can also run EID tags. So that's just the number of tags there. But then we also see a tally there on the right. So that's the number of animals you have there in those mobs. Cool. So now I'll take you through to our stock rec. So just remember, stock list is your day-to-day management, probably what you're looking at most of the time. And stock rec is what you want to run when you go to the accountants or anything. So if we come in here, we can see it's a pretty standardized format for what a stock rec looks like. And then if we come up the top, we can filter it however we want. So if I go quick date select, I'll go last month because probably something went on last month. And go view. Cool, just pulling out the data. And then we can see here there's been a few changes in the tallies. Keeping this up to date can save you some big bucks when it comes to accounting and you're doing your end of year wrap up. I know, and when you're valuing the stock on farm, if you overvalue it, it can cost you a lot of money with tax and whatnot. So you've got to get this right. And so keeping this accurately in FarmIQ, just doing those little bits every day, adds up pretty quick. So if we click here on these bursts on the 38, we can get a bit more detail. So these are all the events recorded in FarmIQ in that month, which have added to our tally and burst. So I think it's our bull calves. So you can see over here a detail of the event, who recorded it. So that'd be my mum there, Jennifer. And then also the NATE transaction down the bottom. So this NATE integration is meaning you don't have to record the information in another place. It's all happened in FarmIQ. So all those tags are running through this system, and then we notify NATE, which is bloody handy. Cool. Sweet. So that's a little bit, a pretty quick run through of the stock rec and how the stock list works in FarmIQ. But yeah, it's pretty basic. And then we can, when you come onto the system, or if you're keen to give it a go, someone will be able to help talk you through how to match that up to what works best on your farm. So obviously, if you're breeding a breeding operation, your stock list and how you set up your mods might be a little bit different to if you're a trading operation. Sweet. I'll pass the ball back to old Tim.
Thanks, mate. Awesome. So what we're going to do now is just quickly run through understanding animal performance and how to improve profitability through that. So it's all very well chucking this information in, and it's all very important how we get that information out. So what I'm going to do is I'll just jump into sharing my screen again. And what we're going to do is we're just going to jump into the same farm and give you an idea of where that information goes. So For example, if you're thinking about doing cropping and you want to measure that against a mob of maybe pasture-based animals, that decision needs to have some sort of data behind it to make an informed decision, but also to see what the return on investment is. So we easily can add weights in here, and that's a process that I can talk you through if you are keen to chat more later on. Very straightforward, and there's massive ease of integration with TrueTest and Datamars and Gallagher as far as bringing that information in and populating it in FarmIQ. But that's a subject for another night. But what we want to do is just show you again some of that information that we can drag out. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take you through to the report center again. And we have a massive amount of reports here. So all the information goes in, can come out from somewhere. And it's a question of being able to navigate that, which we're more than happy to do, and the O800 team as well. But for this one here, we're just going to show you a bit of a live weight profile for a couple of mobs. And we're going to filter the dates to the default. That's quite happy for us to use. And we're going to use cattle load. So we've got 2 mobs of cattle on this. And so we've got some finisher bulls that are on pasture, 2021s. And it just takes a little while. You just got to wait and be a little bit patient for it to go through. And we've also got some RAFNO ones. So these reporting groups have been set up as the mobs have been set up good in the cell blocks. So a lot of the beef cell farmers can track some bulls against other bulls. So you might have 2 separate cell blocks and you want to see what's going on. Or as I said, you can track the crops and get some idea of what's going on. You can benchmark across other farms in FarmIQ if you want, which is good. But what we're going to do is just going to use these 2 mobs of bulls at this stage. And we're just going to get an idea of what's going on. So we can look at this and we can see the weighing dates, and the graph gives us quite a good visual indication of the performance of each mob. And we can see just by it, we can unclick first and we can see what the pasture one was doing. So yeah, fairly nice growth. But then if we jump on the RAFNO as a comparison, we actually see we've got about 20 kilos extra over a couple of months of extra growth. So that's pretty good. And it shows you the value of what that RAFNO or any crop might be doing in comparison to a pasture-based system. And we can go down a little bit further and we can see what that pasture produced. We can look at a closing average for that mob of 52 there, sorry. And so we've been weighing them consistently through the May-June period. And then we can actually see a closing average of what the RAFNO is doing as well. So this is really key data to make some of those business decisions and to be able to actually get some real value out of the program. Really important. And this is just a small example of so many applications that FarmIQ has. I know Glenn's going to talk about nutrition and grazing reporting next, and I think this is a good segue to go into that because it's another way of saving money, but also improving the bottom line. Thanks, Glenn.
Yeah, and I think it's important to remark that with those reporting groups, like often it's you can pull data of stuff you even forget about. Like you can pull reporting groups based on health treatments and what you've recorded against different animals. So when you're comparing like what drench regimes you gave different trade lands and whatnot, yeah, that's another thing you can do. Quick question from Greta. Can you do any forecasting or is it limited to retrospective reports? And this is the kind of comparison. So no, we don't. We do some basic kind of feed planning and that side of it, but we keep the majority of the forecasting to FarmX. So we're kind of more on the recording and retrospectively, but FarmX is kind of your tool going forward.
That's a great point though, Glenn, you bring up that feed planner. The feed planner is a massive tool, especially for the dairy guys, but the sheep and beef guys are becoming more and more used to doing pasture walks and things like that. So the feed planner is massive. There's also a weight predictor tool that you can use and also gross margin calculator to help you do some of that forecasting. But as Glenn said, the majority of it is done by FarmX, but we do have a limited amount within our stable of formulation.
And yeah, so benchmarking, it just comes against any of the other farms in your area which have recorded data and they've allowed benchmarking, we can then compare against that. So you just click to show benchmark data and then they'll bring it up in the report. So one, I'll just show you quickly, Greta. So in our tools and calculators, this is where you get some of the forecasting kind of tools that we do have. So this includes your feed planner, which is a big beast and it's used extensively by the land court farms. So they run everything off this. So they plan it out each month at a time, and then I think they do the year, and then each month rolls by, they sign it off, and then they tick through it 1 month at a time. And then you also got basic feed budgets, which are based on a demand supply, and then also stock rotations there as well, which bring in your pasture covers. So those are a few tools which we do have, but yeah, that bulk of the forecasting, that's where FarmMax comes in. So I'll just go over some cool parts now. Thanks for that, Tim. No, that's all right. I like this last one. Because it really shows some of that daily recording and how it can add value. So the grazing days report is probably one of my favorites. And if we go into it and load it up, and so we'll run it by stock units and then by paddocks. So the grazing days report, when you're keeping your stock in paddocks and FarmIQ, the system is automatically calculating the stock units and how many days it's been in there. So over a year, it will record the grazing pressure against those paddocks. So if we go here, this is, we'll push this out a little bit. So quick date select and just go last year. Yep, last year. And then go view. Cool. So this will bring up a heat map of the grazing pressure on the farm. So we can see here that these dark areas have been grazed more heavily. And then these light areas in the blue have been grazed a bit less. And so these down here. So this can give you some real ideas when you combine it with our nutrient heat maps as well. And you can start to see, is that actually working? Is my fertilizer regime working? So yeah, it's pretty cool. Do I need to subdivide that paddock more, add more water in the middle? And you can see what would make the actual difference. So, and that's just by recording your moves on your phone. So as you go around and record it, shift the paddock, you might just do it at the end of the day and do your moves all at once. And then you start and build up this data. Having those moves in FarmIQ also allows people to jump in your farm and instantly see where all the animals are. So it's a great planning tool. So if you jump back into Report Center, I'll just show you that nutrient report I was talking about. And then if we go to phosphorus, this is just the country we're on up in Hawke's Bay. It's generally phosphorus, needs a little bit of fert or so we think. So this will allow us to really analyze that. And then we go view. Cool. So it brings up another heat map of the how much phosphorus we put on different paddocks, and we can set different rates there. So if you bring this up side by side with your grazing pressure and your phosphorus heat map, man, like the options are endless. You can be like, yeah, is that actually paying off? The other paddocks are performing just as well. So should I cut back and then see next year if it's still performing? Which is pretty cool. Diane asked the question, I've been using Endeavour for many years. This looks much more detailed. How is the farm map set up? And does the user have to draw in all the paddocks to set up? So I have worked with Endeavour a little bit. Often we can pull shape files across from other bits of software. So if you're using Hawkeye or MyBalance, we can bring it across from there. But when you sign up, we do have the option there for $250. We can draw it in for you. Or we can, when we sit down and do your setup, we can show you how to add in those paddocks. And it's a pretty easy process. So I just go draw and edit in the bottom right, paddocks. So you draw your exterior fence line, and then you just do your interior and come in and just add those in. So it doesn't take too long. But yeah, there's a few options there, and we can look to pull across old maps if they're in a digital format. Yeah, we can just look into that. Cool. So that's a bit of a power run through. I see it's just been 35 minutes. So I'll just switch back to our slides. But is there any more questions there, or does anyone want to see anything else? But otherwise, if nothing comes through, but yeah, just get in touch with us. So we're happy. So Tim is out on the road quite a lot in the upper north, and we also have 3 other BMs around the island, or North and South Island. So we can potentially get out on road and see you in person, and answer any questions and see how FarmIQ can work for you. So his number's there if you want to jot it down and give him a call. Anything you want to add there, Tim?
No, if you are keen to have a play around, we obviously have the website, and there is a demo farm on there. So if you want to have a little bit of a play by yourself, just jump on there, play around. The 0800 FarmIQ team are all based in Wellington. They're a real friendly bunch too. They've all got a lot of farming now, and they've also got a lot of FarmIQ now as well. So really good team. But yeah, just don't hesitate to just ask the questions and get a better idea of what it can do. Yeah, that's all I've got really.
Yeah, and FarmIQ, it's a constantly evolving product. Where we've been hiring like wildfire to get more devs on board as we can. So we definitely kind of got some big plans in the future as well to make it better. So it's a pretty cool journey to be involved with, and that's why I've been sticking around, because I love it. So yeah, awesome. All right, cheers for that, everyone. Hopefully that helped you, but yeah, feel free to touch base if you need any more help. So see ya.
I just got one more question coming through, Glenn.
Yep.
Have you got that one?
Cool. A few last fire ones. How do you record the different feed types against the weights? Does that come in when you import the weights? No. So I'll just jump back in, so I'll answer this quick. But when you do, so if we go stock, health and breeding, and then supplementary feeding. So we see here, go no. You can do it against tags if you want, but you can also select the mob. By selecting this mob, you're highlighting that those weights and the supplementary feed are all relevant to those animals. So when you do your report and you're selecting on that, you can then click, oh, yep, I want to filter down on supplementary feeding. It's the same with health treatments. So the health treatments recorded against those animals allow us to filter down using that. So hopefully that helps, Monica.
Cool. There's one from Rebecca here. Does the mobile app work offline? Yes, it does, Rebecca. So yeah, you're able to use it out and about in the paddock, and then when you get back into Wi-Fi or cell phone reception, it'll refresh, and there's another button too you can press just to make sure that all the information has come through. So yes, you are able to use it around the farm, which is really handy, especially for some of the blocks out the coast and stuff like that. So yep.
Cool. Okay. Well, yeah, if there's nothing else there, we'll wrap that up. But thanks for coming along, guys. And yeah, hopefully you have a good rest of your week and weekend.
Great. Thanks, guys.